was a storm last night in a forgotten town in Maine. A young woman named Emily drove along the twisting, fog-covered road toward an ancient ancestral mansion, and she had never visited before. The wind howled through skeletal trees, branches clawing at her windshield as if warning her to turn back. The sparse streetlights flickered grotesque shadows, dancing across the empty road, and with every mile, the fog thickened, swallowing the pavement and horizon, as if the town itself was alive, observing her every heartbeat, her chest tight with anxiety, her hands gripping the wheel so hard her knuckles turned. Always, she felt eyes from the darkness beyond the trees, following her silently. When she finally reached the mansion, the iron gates groaned. Open behind her, she stepped onto the cracked stone path of the mansion, looming like a sentinel of nightmares, windows broken, some boarded shadows shifting in the panes. She pushed the creaking door open, cold air rushing out, extinguishing the lantern. She held, revealing a grand hallway draped in dust cobwebs and decaying portraits, eyes following her every move, floorboards groaning beneath. Each step she moved cautiously, then a soft whisper called her name. She spun and glimpsed a tall humanoid figure in the corner, elongated limbs, bending impossibly, head tilted sideways, eyes glowing faint red, a grin stretching unnaturally from ear to ear. Her muscles froze in terror, coursing through her veins. The figure advanced silently, the walls pulsated, shadows stretching and warping reflections in tarnished mirrors, showing not her face, but dozens of twisted, screaming versions of herself. She bolted toward the grand staircase, but hallways elongated, endlessly stretching her steps into eternity. The chandelier swayed violently, casting moving shadows across walls. The library ahead beckoned. She stumbled inside shelves, towering overhead, books littering the floor, opening on their own, revealing pages filled with screaming faces chanting. Shadows, then a cold hand grasped her shoulder. She spun and saw dozens of ghostly children, eyes hollow mouths, opening unnaturally, whispering. She screamed the chandeliers. Love dripped black liquid smelling of decay. She ran the stairs, twisted beneath, her feet each step folding into a new corridor. Paintings on walls became faces' mouths. Screaming eyes staring, she fell into the dining hall. The table stretched infinitely, ghostly figures seated, staring with unnaturally wide grins. She crawled across the floorboards cracking. Every second the tall figure appeared at the far end, splitting into 5 identical versions, each moving differently, surrounding her knives and utensils, floating in the kitchen, levitated doors, slamming windows, breaking. Ambient screams of unseen people filling the night. The wind carried whispers of long dead, urging her to join them. She tumbled down the twisted staircase into the basement. The air, icy thick, with whispers chanting her name. Walls made of fused human bones, faces pressed, mouths screaming, eyes glaring. She tried to run, but the floor cracked beneath, revealing a pit writhing behind his hands. Clawing upward, the tall figure appeared from the shadows, merging with the walls, its grin wider than sanity. A loud whispering, "You belong to us now." Every shadow in the room surged forward, a tidal wave, dragging her into darkness. She screamed silently, her mind filled with visions of every face she had seen. Mirrors, books, shadows flash in her mind, pulsating. With terror, she woke in her car outside the mansion, rain pouring, windshield fogged hard. Hammering, she saw shadows moving between trees, closer with each blink. The mansion seemed to disappear, yet the fog thickened. The road stretched endlessly, rearview mirror reflecting dozens of glowing eyes staring at her. She drove blindly, the trees bending unnaturally, the wind carrying whispers of her own name. She reached a forest, clearing roots, twisting like serpents, reaching for her branches, clawing at her clothing, shadows pooling at the base of gnarled trees, mist curling in unnatural shapes. She stumbled and fell, the ground beneath cracking. revealing crawling shadows rising like smoke figures, converging around her hooded figures from before, appearing, forming a circle, chanting her name, pointing with empty eyes. The fog thickened each step she took the ground, pulsed shadows, multiplying, pressing closer. She saw a glowing door in the center of the circle, illuminated faintly beckoning. Escape. She ran, but each shadow surged faster around her. The door opened, and she fell into another corridor, lined with mirrors, each reflection showing dozens of twisted versions. Screaming silently, tall figures emerging from every mirror pointing at her. She ran the corridor, twisting endlessly, chandeliers dripping black liquid, shadows crawling, ceiling floor stretching. Impossibly, the mansion itself, alive, pulsating walls, breathing the air, thick with anticipation, terror pressing from all sides. Finally, she fell into the underground chamber walls lined with fused bones, faces pressed into mud, screaming mouths open, eyes glaring, the gigantic shadow figure towering above eyes, glowing impossibly red grin stretching beyond comprehension. It whispered, "You will never leave the town. Your soul is ours, forever." The shadows pressed closer, suffocating every sound, every thought. She tried to scream, to run, to fight, but the darkness consumed her, entirely merging with her body, mind, soul. She woke again in her car, rain pouring windshield, fogged heartbeat, deafening glimpses of shadows flickering through the trees. Mansion gone, but the air heavy with presence, eyes following her every step. The town, endless road stretching infinitely twisted, trees, branches, clawing wind carrying whispers. She screamed internally, externally, simultaneously, knowing the mansion would rise again. The shadows would return. The grin would appear in mirrors, corners, shadows at every street she drove. The fog thickening, swallowing everything she tried to escape. But each mile looping back, the cursed town, the mansion, patient, timeless. Hungry shadows ready to consume next brave soul. She was trapped, forever haunted by eyes that never blinked, mouths that never closed, and that impossibly wide grin echoing endlessly in her mind. Every reflection, every shadow, every street waiting, watching her until eternity. With no escape, no rest, no release, the night never ending, the terror perpetual, the town alive, the mansion alive, the shadows alive, as she would run endlessly through fog-twisted roads, haunted quarters, chasing a glimpse of hope that never existed. Forever trapped in psycho-horror nightmares, she ran through alleys, the streetlights flickering, casting monstrous shadows, walls bending, whispering her name. She stumbled into an abandoned chapel, shadows crawling from pews, ceiling cracked, the altar bleeding, shadows reaching for her, the floorboards cracked beneath screaming faces. She tried to climb out windows, twisted frames preventing escape, of the town itself, reshaping doors, vanishing staircases, elongating. She fell into a trap door, underground tunnels, winding, endlessly, figures emerging, the air thick with whispers, chanting, merging into an end. Unbearable chorus. She was dragged into a chamber lined with mirrors, hundreds of distorted faces screaming silently, each mirror reflecting new horrors, each step crushing sanity, every shadow breathing darkness. Finally, she confronted the tallest figure. The shadow merged all smaller shadows into one mass, its grand, impossibly wide whispering, "Your fear is ours." Forever she tried to fight, scream, run, vanish, but the darkness pressed every limb, every thought into submission. She realized the cursed town, the mansion, the shadows would never release her. She would run endlessly, the road folding, twisting, fog thickened, the town alive, the shadows alive, patient, hungry, watching, waiting, consuming every soul daring to enter the cursed streets. Mansion rising again and again, the grin never leaving eyes, never closing teeth, always ready forever. Horror, perpetual, relentless, inescapable, waiting, ready, and she was trapped forever